Good evening, I'm Saraya Mia and you are watching AWANI Tonight. Flood mitigation. Are our warning and drainage systems adequate? And studies find women worked more than men due to unpaid work. That's coming up. Former Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad is expected to be discharged from the National Heart Institute IJN within the next few days. In a statement today, IJN said the team of doctors treating Tun Mahathir was satisfied with the results of the investigations. IJN said that Tun Mahathir has completed all the necessary investigations for his medical checkup following admission to the institute. On December 16th, Tun Mahathir was admitted to IJN for a full medical checkup and further observation. 17 bodies were recovered after the devastating floods in Selangor, with 10 from Klang alone. Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Amiruddin Syari said 4 other victims were found in Sepang and 3 in Hulu Langat. He added that to date, over 30,000 people have been displaced by heavy rainfall last weekend. He said the number is expected to increase even as weather improves. Meanwhile, Amiruddin said now is not the time to play the blame game, as he urged more attention should be on search and rescue efforts.
Menjelang ke bulan November yang lepas, saya dimaklumkan bahawa Majlis Keselamatan Negara di bawah jawatan Perdana Menteri, pengerusi Majlis Keselamatan Negara itu telah diserahkan kepada Menteri Federal. So I can call a police, I can call an army as a Majlis Keselamatan Negara pada tarikh tersebut. If I have a chance, if I have a plan, if I have an opportunity, that maybe on the 18th, I already call the Majlis Keselamatan Negara. So it's not a blame game, tapi saya nak beritahu the chronology. Now is a time for us to search and rescue people.
With the level of damage inflicted by floods, it is only natural that the public rely highly on warnings and weather forecasts to make informed decisions. In the event of last weekend's intense rainfall, is our early warning system sufficient? We speak to Director General of Met Malaysia, Muhammad Hilmi Abdullah, on how to better communicate warnings to the public. He said forecasting weather in a tropical country is not an easy task, as the weather can get unpredictable depending on various factors.
The presence of Typhoon Rai, Typhoon Rai, was also affecting the movement of the depression. It probably slowed down the depression, and that led to the complexity of the situation. Forecasting became rather complicated, difficult. So I would say it was a rather difficult situation. We have never encountered something like this before over the crossing the Peninsula Malaysia from the state of Pahang right to Selangor, and also it regained its strength over the state of Malacca. That was a strange, quite a peculiar event. And forecasting it was a tremendous challenge for us.
Despite that, he noted there are shortcomings in terms of alerts sent out to those in affected areas. Hilmi promised that the method of warnings decimation will be improved, especially to specific areas in preparing for future disasters.
When the warnings are issued, not all the members of the public, especially those in the affected areas, we receive the warning messages, right? Usually the most efficient way of transmitting a weather warning currently is via SMS, because not everyone has a smartphone. Not everyone will have access to the internet or will download our mobile apps, My Cuaca. So one of the most effective ways is using SMS, but SMS has its own shortcomings. When you send an SMS, it's usually to a designated number, a fixed number. What we are thinking of is sending the weather alerts or warning to the people in an affected in area that is going to be affected by the severe weather.
While early warning could help prevent the extent of damage, the most crucial part of flood mitigation is drainage. With losses reaching millions of ringgit to families and businesses, it's imperative to ensure enough investment is channeled towards flood prevention. We speak to Deputy Director General of the Department of Irrigation and Drainage, JPS, Bibi Zarina Che Omar, about this challenge.
Whatever infrastructure, drainage infrastructure that we have, is actually designed, we designed for 100 years, but we built for 50 years because of the constraint of budget. So we actually built for 50 years, but we checked for 100 years. So there are spaces for it to flow, but we didn't actually build up to the 100 years flood. So when you don't have enough capacity, the water will overspill. And as we know, there are many low-lying areas in KL and in Selangor, and we have a lot of residential areas actually built on floodplains. So when you are on floodplains, that is where the water goes when the capacity of the drainage system is not enough. That is where they flow to. So that is why this happens. You know, is you just have too much water, and we just cannot. The infrastructure that we have just cannot cope with the amount of water that actually falls onto KL and Selangor.
She also lauded the success of flood mitigation projects like the Stormwater Management and Road Tunnel, more popularly known as the Smart Tunnel, in reducing the devastating impacts of floods in the capital city. However, funding remains to be an issue.
We are very lucky that we have the Smart Tunnel working during the event recently, and it has helped to actually reduce a lot of impact in KL region. So the thought has come to us that maybe we should find another way to build another Smart Tunnel. So that might be in one of our proposals. We are thinking about it. But you know, having another Smart Tunnel will cost a lot of money, so budget is an issue here.
Therefore, it has become vital that flood management in the country is properly thought out in the long term in order to minimize its crippling effects on the people affected by them. We'll go for a quick break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. A study by University Science Malaysia conducted during the nationwide lockdown found that women worked 1.5 times more than men because of unpaid work. And this is largely due to the unequal distribution of caring responsibilities. According to gender equality advocate Alithia Wong, more needs to be done to narrow the gender gap in unpaid domestic work. The findings are consistent with those conducted before the pandemic.
The pandemic, where there is a double down when everyone's at home, and the fact that women still disproportionately hold and do more of the unpaid work at home. I think the problem really stems from a big umbrella issue. Really is about gender asymmetry, so gender inequality, because there are gender roles that fall squarely on women's lap to be sort of like taken for granted that they would do the house chores, take care of the children. And a lot of people don't see that there is also mental burden. There's also labor burden because of doing all these jobs.
She added that it's high time for unpaid care work to be included in policy agendas, as it is an important aspect of economic activity and contributes to the well-being of individuals and families.
Look into the data about how, and then specifically address how you could allow women the time to do paid work, give them the opportunity, the avenue, it's either you have ensured that fathers are also given paternity leave so that it's a joint effort. And then the wife, I've spoken to some of my friends who are like young fathers and asked, what really is your wish at this little like precious time, when your child has just been born, and it's just like really just time to arrange the household, because my wife usually does it, but now she's in labor she's in confinement and I have to do it, and I might be slower because I'm not used to it, so, and they might have more than one child, and so it's just about arranging the household and giving fathers the opportunity as well. And I would say that it's really about understanding, collecting the data, and putting into action some of the things that will balance out the difference that women face usually by themselves.
On the international front, Thailand will reinstate its mandatory COVID-19 quarantine for foreign visitors and scrap the quarantine waiver under the Test and Go scheme beginning today. The move came just a day after the country reported its first local case of the Omicron variant. International visitors will now have to undergo hotel quarantine, which ranges between 7 to 10 days. Meanwhile, the Sandbox program, which allows for fully vaccinated foreign tourists to move freely in specific locations, will also be suspended in all places except for the island of Phuket. Thailand reopened to foreign visitors in November, ending nearly 18 months of strict entry policies. So far, 63 Omicron cases have been found in Thailand, with 1 case of local transmission. A Thai woman who was tested positive to Omicron contracted the virus from her husband, a Colombian who returned to Thailand from Nigeria in late November. Economic crisis, poverty, and strict Taliban rule force Afghan women to do all means to make money to feed their families. Women in the government are now unable to work, while teenage girls prohibited from going to school in many parts of the country. Women's rights activist Frida Akbaryar said Afghan women are now living in a very miserable situation. Despite it all, Afghan women continue to protest for their right to work in education. The Taliban government took power in mid-August after the collapse of the Afghan military and Western-backed government. This resulted in sanctions by the international community over fears the Taliban could reimpose a harsh regime compared to 20 years ago. How do we best understand U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's recent visit and the emerging regional geopolitical dynamics we need to negotiate? Tonight on Consider This, we ask our guests if we are playing our cards right. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro AWANI app. I'm Saraya Mia. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.